Would you ever eat government vaccines? Feed your family hormones or antibiotics? Never ever do that to your family. So why buy beef the same way you've always bought beef? You're buying meat glue bonded, hormone filled, antibiotic riddled grocery store meat. Say no to supermarket medicated Franken meats and say hello to nevereverbeef.club. Always 100% USDA prime or high choice. That's restaurant grade. Never ever is not ever just select beef or even standard or ungraded store branded meat. It's simply the very best cut and tasting steak you have ever had. We have never ever given our herd hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never ever. Pure blood genetics. We've raised our herds this way for over 30 generations. They simply have never, ever had antibiotics, hormones, or killer vaccines. Grass-fed the way nature intended, in almost 500,000 acres of high pasture environments. Finished off with non-modified feed crops we grow ourselves. We even own our own 210,000 square foot processing plant. And as an added bonus for our nevereverbeef.club members, we age our steaks in our state-of-the-art 780,000 cubic foot aging facility. Only top restaurants do that, so they can charge you $100 or more for a little bitty steak. We age our meat because we want you to have the very best restaurant quality USDA prime or high choice, pure blood, purebred beef at a price your family can afford in these financially challenging times. Sure, you can keep paying the price for supermarket cheap, standard, and ungraded store meat brands if you love feeding your family Franken meat. So never ever settle for less. Join our nevereverbeef.club. Take control of your health and your family food supply right now. Join nevereverbeef.club. We are real people with real families just like you. So we personally customize your order right over the phone. Now that's customer service. And there is absolutely no obligation when we call. You decide what bundle is best for your needs. No hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never had them and never ever will. Never ever cut corners on your food supply or family's health. Join nevereverbeef.club now.
Hey guys, welcome to the program. I'm going to let you in on a best kept secret for this program. We're just going to kind of take it casual. Much love out there to you, Crystal. I'm sorry you're aching and in pain. If you were there, I would put on my French maid outfit. I'd bring you some coffee and some sweets just so you could lay there and take care of yourself. I am so sorry you are in pain. You know, a lot of people suffer from back pains and stuff. I was just reading chat. That's what was going on in chat. By the way, folks, do me a favor, will you please? Will you please finger me? Raise that finger, share this program, get it out there. You might be interested to share this with your family and friends because we're going to talk about something you really can do. It's a best kept secret that you could maybe pay off your debt. Maybe it could set you free or allow you to quit your job, or it could become your retirement. I'm going to help you learn how and why, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about this literally. Yes, I know there were 2 terrorist attacks in the U.S. yesterday. And if you'll go back, you'll see that a couple of months ago told you I'm going to start focusing on the Muslim issue we have. And I told you bad things were coming. And here you go. It's going to heat up. There's going to be more. But past that, okay? KJ wants a picture of me in my French maid outfit. I have a whole collection of them, KJ. So let me tell you how that works. I'll do that for you. Sure. Since I have a whole collection, send me a picture of you and yours. Send it to me. And then I will see if I have that same one in my collection and then send you back one. So, yeah, you've got my email. Drop me one. Anyway, I could talk about these attacks. Why? We know they're coming. We know they're going to do it. We know they're here. We know our government did it to us. We know the Biden administration imported in a lot. We know the media encourages it. We know the parties need it to keep chaos. They need it to raise money. They need it to play like they're heroes or protectors or whatever. There's nothing else we can say about it except describe their description, but it is what it is. It sucks, but more is coming. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on you. And I'm going to focus on things you should be thinking about. We did this the other day when we were talking about could civil war come to our shores. I'm going to talk about things that you should focus on. And I told you months ago, I told you what's heating up is going to be the Islam, the Muslim stuff. Here we are, like clockwork. And it is going to get worse. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Here's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to go to jovanlovesgold.com. Request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. I don't do this from an investment standpoint. I do this from a cover yourself standpoint. I started telling you this, I guess, when gold was a little under $1,500 an ounce. Do you know what gold is today? $5,095 an ounce. Anyway, folks, when it comes to protecting your money, and by the way, I don't know if you caught it, but in all of these negotiations for the SAVE Act and all this other stuff, you want a confirmation it's coming? Now you can count, right? So let's say it's 2026. Okay? How many years till 2030? Count on your fingers. Yeah, not long. Do you know in all these SAVE Act bills and all these funding bills and stuff, some of the stuff they're fighting about is they want to push off our banking system going digital at least until 2030. It's right there in the documents. I've been telling you this. It's one of the things buried deep in it. See, some of them want it now. Right now, the compromise that's on the table to push it off is, okay, well, we got to push it off at least till 2030. I always told you, I've been telling you for the last 6 years, it's coming. If you would have listened 6 years ago, and then you got the 4 years left, you have a 10-year head start. Yet here we are, that time's gone. So at least get the information so you can understand why it's going to be more meaningful than ever. Okay? It's going to be more meaningful than ever. Jovan loves gold. That's what we do with our fine friends at Goldco. Because now is the time to protect your family with gold and silver. And with that said, that's the topic that we're going to talk about today. This is going to be part one of several parts. I'm going to try to walk you through a few things. Just like my books are CYA, cover your ass. I keep on telling you about food. I told you exactly what they were going to go. Come on, go back, folks. I told you don't even go to Capitol on January 6th. It's a setup. What happens? Told you they're going to try to use it to get rid of Trump. What happens? Told you they were going to try to say it as coup. What happens? Saw they couldn't get it. Told you they're going to switch to conspiracy. Come on. I keep on telling you things, giving you this heads up after heads up after heads up after heads up. At some point, we all have to kind of take action at some point, right? We do. We just kind of have to take action. One of the cover your ass that I did was the Food Forest Bible. I'm just going to show this one. I'm grabbing it. Hang on. When I do something, I want to do it Rolls Royce. Folks, this is a hardbound 500-page full-color book. I don't do anything half-ass. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it full-ass. And I did it in hardbound because this is something that will sit on your coffee table. It's pretty to look at. It's great pictures that you'll share and will become an heirloom, and you'll go back and forth for it. And people don't think, if all this crap goes to hell in a handbasket, you ain't getting this information on the internet to go look it up. You need a hard copy of it. That's why I did this. Just make sure it's got my name on it. That particular one, such a great success. They freaking cloned it and did crap and put it out there. Okay? Period. Okay. So this is a good subject. It's going to be a great ride, but we're going to talk about it because you need to look at this. Hey, can I pay off my debt? Will it set me free? Will it allow me to quit my job? Will it become a retirement? Will it cover my ass? Will I be able to feed my family if everything goes to hell in a handbasket? Well, you're going to learn how and why. Share this program right now. We'll get started in about 3 minutes.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media? and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, it's true. There are some secrets out there that, people just don't talk about or ignore, but you could actually pay off your debt, set yourself free, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's just start with a pop quiz, right? Put it in chat. How many of you are in debt? I know it's just a simple question. Are you in debt? Doesn't matter what it is. Are you in debt? Right? Credit cards, banks, loans, whatever it is. Mortgages. Some people have some debt. Some people have a little debt. Some people have a lot of debt. Okay, let me ask you a question. If you were driving down the road and you're just kind of tooling along the road, and on the side of the road, you saw a car kind of broken down over on this side. You didn't see anybody there. But there was a car. Tell the truth. Would you stop and look in it or look at it? Yes or no? Driving down the road, car on the side of the road, nobody's there, right? Would you stop and look at it or look in it? No, you wouldn't. Okay, let me change it. You're driving down the road. Out of the corner of your eye, you spot down the side of the road, you spot a briefcase. Nobody's there, but you spotted a briefcase. Clear as day in your mind. Boom, there's a briefcase. Would you stop? Would you stop and look and try to see what's in it? Most people would stop. Now, the reason most people will stop is because there is this thing in the back of your psyche that kind of thinks, for the majority of people, oh shit, wonder if it's filled with money. And it's just kind of the way we're wired. Next question. Have you ever taken a vacation? What I mean by a vacation, have you ever taken a week off, a full week from beginning to end off at any time in your life? Have you taken, right? What'd you say? Kelsey said, I'd be my luck, it would trap my booby. Only if I said it for you. Have any of you taken a full week's vacation off? Yes or no? Huh? Or a long weekend. How about this? Have you ever taken a long weekend off? 3-day weekend? Something like that? Ever? Okay. Next question. How many of you in the last few years, with the caveat you can still do this, in the last few years have taken maybe a long hike, an adventure in a park or a forest or anything like that? Have any of you ever done that? Put it in chat. Yes, if you have. No, if you haven't. Have you ever, gone on a long hike, walked in the mountains, walked in a state park, etc.? Many have. Have you ever walked along a river, a real shallow river, not a deep river, but a real shallow river or creek? Ever kind of walked across a creek or played in the creek as an adult? Have you ever done that? Right? Kelsey, we got to get your ass out. You haven't done anything. Okay, now most people have done these things. Can you bend over and touch your toes? True. I didn't say grab your ankles. I said, can you bend over and touch your toes? Nachos, I know you're hurting at the moment. You don't count. Can you bend over and touch your toes? Skinny dipping counts, Liberty Mom. Okay. Do you have somebody around? Could you, if you had to, right now, if you had to, could you pick up like a Home Depot or a Lowe's bag of soil? Not the big bags, but just a bag of soil. Could you pick it up if you had to, pick it up and walk it over to the sales counter? Yes or no? Last question. Do you like being outside? Now, I know there's some people limited. Don't worry about that. This is still going to apply to you, and I'm going to show you how. Do you like being outside? And the last but not question, do you have at least one person somewhere in your life, and it could probably be in this group, that if you wanted to, hey, let's take a road trip, and you really wanted to plan it, that you could have somebody go with you? Okay. All of the things that I just listed for you is a simple formula that if you knew a secret that you could, in fact, pay your debt, set yourself free, allow you to quit your job, and it could become your retirement. Now, those of you that said, I can't lift, I can't bend, I can't whatever, you're going to stay with me because I'm going to show you how this applies to you. Okay? Now, I know an individual that learned this secret and spent a couple of days in a river. But that couple of days in the river made him almost $900,000 richer for the 2 days effort he put in. Now, here's the question. If you were going to get paid $450,000 a day, would you get your ass off into, not a deep river, but would you get your ass off into a river and work your ass off for 2 days? Any of you? Would you do it? Honest question. For $450,000 a day, would you do it? Most people would. So now I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to tell you a story that you need to know. But I ask one question of you, a couple last questions just to set this up. How many of you wished you owned some land or some more land, that you had your own land, your own place you could go? Put it in chat. Just say me. If you had your own land or more land, right? Your own place you could go. Most people say yes, and most people do that. In chat right now, based upon where you live, if you've looked for land, what is the average price per acre where you are? What are the average price per acre where you are? Don't say too much. Give me a number. One says $75,000 an acre, $30,000 an acre, $40,000 an acre, $10,000 to $20,000 an acre. One's at $5,000 an acre, $100,000 an acre, $40,000 an acre, $25,000 to $30,000 an acre, $15,000 an acre, $120,000 an acre, $5,000 to $7,000 an acre for agricultural land, $16,000 an acre, and it's just rock, $25,000 an acre, $47,900 an acre, $150,000 an acre, 8 acres for $350,000. Okay, what I'm going to show you is how to do this, but it's going to take multiple shows, okay? How to do this. The best kept secret could pay off your debt, set you free, allow you to quit your job, become your retirement, and you need to learn why. And on average, you're going to pay, to get it done, about 30, what were some of those numbers? 20,000, 50,000, 10,000. You're going to end up paying about $30 an acre. $30 an acre. $30 an acre. Now there's a caveat. You got to do 20 acres at a time. So it's going to be $600. $30 an acre. Okay. I've now set the groundwork. Let me go back in time. My family has forever been in $30 an acre with access and stuff, whatever. No hillbillies. Give me a minute. You're asking too many questions. Hang on. You're asking where? Okay, well, I'll jump to that real quick. Hang on. $30 an acre in any of these states. I'll give you a moment to look over it. Alaska, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oregon, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. Yeah, you were thinking the Antarctic, weren't you? So I'm going to go back in time. For me, this has kind of been second nature my whole life, because my family has always, in one way or another, been in the land business, etc. Okay? And this land's still out there. And there's only 2 rules. It literally has 2 rules. The first rule, put yes if you can comply with this. Ready? Yes, if you can comply with this. Ready? Number 1. The rule is you have to want it. That's the first rule. You have to want it. Not hard. The second rule is you're going to have to visit it at least once every couple of years. Is that a hard rule? Right? And it's not homesteading. You don't have to guess because I'm going to tell you. You do not have to guess because I'm going to tell you. Basically, I'm going to teach you a concept called the prudent man rule. And here's how it works. I use this and do this. Our family has land holdings in 19 states. And you have the ability to do this yourself under a very interesting law that was written in the year 1872. Okay. In 1872, there was a law written that with all this land that we have in the United States, all this federal public domain lands, that you as an American have the right to claim that land for yourself in 20-acre increments. Let me say that again. We got all of this vast land. You know, people kind of think we're wall-to-wall people in the United States. We're not. We live in a very small percentage of the land. I think it's only, 10%? And in fact, in the world, mankind only lives in about 7% of the open land. Okay? But there's a law in the books, and it's actually one of the laws that made the United States great with this law in the books, this MA 1872, that basically would give anyone the right to claim 20 acres of land as their own, and that you basically take a possessory right of the land. I'm going to tell you all of this. I'm going to tell you every bit of it, how you do it, how you own it, how you have it, all of this. Okay, got it? See, our country has vast mineral resources. And that's one thing that's different about our country than other countries, is that in other countries, all the mineral resources technically owned or literally owned, by the kings or the queens or their government, their country. So it has nothing to do with the people at all. But in the United States, and Canada does this as well, in the United States, since the government has all of this land, they basically open it up for what's called a mineral claim. And you're going to want to stay with me. Don't get lost in any individual word. Don't get lost in anything yet, because you'll miss the whole damn point. Okay? But they opened it up to give Americans a possessory right to open the land for mineral claims. And basically, that's nothing more than, hey, I want this land so I could look for gold, or I could look for silver, or I could look for gemstones. Here's the key words. I'm going to look for gold. I'm going to look for silver. I'm going to look for gemstones. And it gives you the right to do that. And so basically what happens if you, the prudent man, if you basically look at a piece of land and go, I like this land, and to me, I think it has some value. I think it has some value. In my opinion, me as a total dork, a geek hiding out in a biker's body, thinks this land has value, then you're going to be able to stake a claim on that piece of ground. Now, it's a really interesting process once you learn how to do it, because what you can do is the law allows you to stake these claims in 20-acre plots. Count with your fingers, 20-acre plots. And there's a little procedure you have to do and some paperwork you follow to stake the claim. But you're allowed to do 10. So what's 20 acres times 10? You're allowed to own 20 of these claims. There's no geological survey required or anything. I will tell you everything. Just listen. So now you have 200 acres. And so what you should do is 20 here, 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 or in a square, whatever. And it runs for 10, 20 acre plots. Now what do you have? You have 200 acres. But then by law, because you have done your 10, you basically file a new piece of paperwork and say, I want to put all of this together in one claim. Now you're able to take your 10, push them into one. Now you have one 200 acre claim. How many more times can you do that? If you're allowed to have 10 claims and you got your 10, your 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, right? You pushed them into one, that made 200. How many more times can you repeat this process? You're right, 9. 9 more times you can do this. And that's how much land you can acquire. Somebody asked, well, do you have water? Well, that's entirely up to you. See, because what you get to do is you get to decide where it is, how it is, what it is. If you want to be on the top of the mountain, you can be on the top of the mountain. If you want to be on the stream that runs down here in the river, you can do that. If you want to go from the river and you want to go boom, 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 all the way up the mountain, you can do that too. That's up to you. And so what's that? You can do 200 acres at a time, and you can do 20 acres at a time, repeat the process, shrinking it down. You can go up to 2,000 acres. Now, somebody says water is the problem with gold mining. No, it is not. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. And it's only a problem if you don't know what you're doing, etc. But see, all I've really talked about right now is the land. See, a very interesting part of it is you don't have to find shit. Well, you may find shit, bird shit, raccoon shit, bear shit, mountain lion shit. You may even take a shit in the woods. But you know what I mean? You're not required to find gold. Period. You're not required to find gold. But as a mining operation, right, you can do many things. One, you get the automatic right to hunt on the land. You get the right to put a cabin or a structure that you use while you're there, while you're mining. Now, you're not going to build a house there, a traditional house like you think about it, but a little hunting cabin, mining cabin, whatever. You're allowed to do every bit of that. But I want to get to the basics, and I want to show you this. And yes, you can consolidate and repeat the process. And oh, by the way, you probably figured out once you've done that 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, pushed it to 1, you can do it 10 times. Smart people realize, well, shit, I got 2,000 acres of land. You want them all, and to do this, they all have to connect. Yes, you could push all 2,000 acres together as one, and you could start over again. They just all have to connect. Okay. So you understand that this has been out there for a long time. There's probably been many times you visited a national forest or a national park or something like that. And you're driving through the forest, but all of a sudden you see there's a ranch in the middle of it. I mean, a true operating ranch, homes and everything, right in the middle of the national forest. And you think, how in the hell do you get there? How do you get land in the Roosevelt National Forest of all things. Well, see, long ago, if you had these claims and the government decided to get rid of some of its forest or national park land, because you had the claim, right? You, in fact, would literally get first option to buy the land, and they would charge you $5 an acre for it to pay the filing fee, and it's yours. That's how you see those things. And those lands ultimately, when they become patented, which they used to do a lot, they haven't done this now, right? But you got to own it first anyway. And people are saying we're going to head back to the time that they're probably going to start opening up some of these lands. Those lands become priceless. So I'm going to tell you the story of how this happens, why it happens, why you should think about it, and why it's valuable. Because here's what I can tell you. If in fact you go out and you literally stake the claim and follow the process, which means you've gone out and visited. You're going to place a little marker in each corner, which you have to do by law, your little marker. When you do that and you've actually done it and it's in process and registered the whole bit, I've watched people many times on their 20 acres turn around and flip them for $3,000 just because they did the second part of the process. See, there's three processes to it. You got to know where it can be done. That's the location process. Then you've got to, anytime that mine changes hands, it's state land, national land, federal land. So you got to locate it first, literally. Then when you go out there the very first time, you basically say, my name's Isaac, and this is my land, and this is my northwest corner of the northwest corner of the northwest corner to this. And then you do a little thing, and you put this one in this corner, and this one in this corner, this one in this corner, and this one in this corner. Most people, and many people, have literally taken that because they actually put the markers in place. And because they've put the marker in place, they'll go out and open it up, and there's a huge market, and they'll sell these things all day long for $3, $4, $5, $6 depending upon where it is and what it is. And it's only that difference between you locate it and you've been there. And so that's how some people decide, well, I like this, and go to it, and then they go away, right? And this is why liberals are trying to take away rights to land. But this is also a thing that it's just not talked about and can be done. So I want to tell you the story of this and how it came about. But first off, you have to understand, this is what built the entire United States economy. Everything we have today owes itself to actually this process. Okay? Owes itself to this process. Now, I'm gonna use one example only. There's been over 20, but I'm gonna use one example only. Okay? One. You've heard of the California Gold Rush, right? All this law is still in place. Valid, the whole bit. You heard of the California Gold Rush, right? I want to take you back to the California Gold Rush. And I want to give you a little bit of numbers, if that's okay. Today, gold is approximately $5,095. That's what gold is today. When gold mining occurred, when the gold rush occurred, okay, gold was only $20.67 an ounce. Now, that was a big deal, right? Let me see if I'm going to get my right number. Hang on. Hold on. There you go. So gold was $20.67 an ounce. So back then, during the gold rush days, here is what a person made a year. So remember, gold's about a little over $20 an ounce. Okay. And so in 1848, the average American wage was $83.50 a year. $83.50 a year. In 1849, it went down. It was $81.60 a year. Went back up in 1850 to $82.50 a year. Booming times in 1852, it went up to $86.40 a year. And then it had a big boom in 1855 and went up to $93.20 a year. Now, this is what your ancestors lived on. This is what they made back then. Okay? Period. Now, this is really interesting because most people never really put a lot of this into context. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the context of this so you can understand basically scale in your life. But I want you to look at that. That's kind of sobering. This is what your great-grandparents and everybody else lived on. This was the norm. This was the world. Now, granted, things were cheaper. Obviously, things were cheaper. I also want you to look at this to, yes, things are more expensive now, but think of the blessing now. But I also want to let you know that people did in past times with a lot less. Only thing that changed was the system. Attempting to take more from us. That's it. Now, at $20.67 an ounce, these guys pulled out of the ground about 12 million ounces of gold. 12 million ounces of gold. Do you know how much that would be worth today? $61.4 billion in this window. $61.4 billion. If you were to go back in time and you understand that these guys were making $80 a year, $85 a year, the gold rush for these miners, there were only 80,000 of them, by the way, that decided, holy shit, I'm going. I trust me. I don't trust the system. See, that's why I asked you, do you get out? Do you do things? Holy shit, I'm going to rely on myself. Well, these guys that relied on themselves, when everybody around them was lucky to make $80 a year, and these guys says, I'm getting out, I'm going for it. I'm going to work with my hands. Well, they ended up making, on average, $3,100 a year. This is what people did then. And the only difference between then and these guys is these guys went out and did it. Period. In today's terms, that'd be about $764,000 a year on average for standing your ass in a stream or digging in the dirt. These guys weren't lode miners hacking holes basically in the mountains. These guys were working the streams, the gullies, the valleys, turning over rocks because gold was everywhere. It falls apart and it travels. Now, here's the history of gold just over the last 20 years. Even today, it's down, right? But gold in the last 30 days, look how much it's up. Look how much it's up just over the last 20 years. Now, this is why I'm going to do this in parts for you, because you have to understand you have this right. Yes, and a lot of people got killed. Why'd they get killed? Because everybody was making this shit, and the lazy fucks who didn't want to work caught these guys coming back and killed them and took their money. Holy shit, that happens still today. That's mankind. That's mankind, and it's unfortunate. But first thing I want you to understand, you as an American have the right to do this. The government intentionally doesn't tell you about it. Now, somebody might say, I wish I was younger. You could take somebody younger in your life, like a child, a grandchild, an adult child, whatever the case may be, and you can file the paperwork, and you can take that money on your name, and you can send that person for you to do those markers, and it still counts the same. See, technically, you don't literally have to set foot on the land yourself. If you have somebody that works for you or with you, they can do it. So nothing prevents you from doing this. Nothing prevents you from doing this. Now, when I look at this, here's the only difference. Two things. You got to want it, you got to do it. You got to want it. You got to do it. See, that's what's happened to America. They've stopped wanting it. Now, this money I told you about, right, was only for the California gold rush, and there's been others. Now, you might ask yourself, Jovan, what mass topography maps, soil maps, etc. do we need to look at to determine the potential that might be on the land? See, the reason you pay the $600 is because you have an expert locate for you, know that minerals are there, look at the old records, research where it can be, prepare everything for you, just like a title agent. Here's your paperwork. That's how it becomes yours. Do you have to know how to survey? No. Do you have to know how to read USGS maps? No. You just have to decide, where do you want to be? And do you like desert? And do you like water? Do you like that? Do you like this? Do you like that? That's how it really works. But I want you to understand something. The only thing that ever keeps you from doing this is you. That's it. The government doesn't tell people about it because the government are a bunch of bastards. You do not have to have a survey. There's no survey. It's basically done on something called meets and bounds. It's divided by how the United States government has already surveyed the land. You don't pay for a survey. No, literally, you basically decide you want to do it. You're paired with a location specialist. You decide where you want to be. You kind of give them the criteria, and they go to work and look. That's how it works. That's how this whole thing works. You do not have to pay a surveyor to put the markers down. Wrong. You got to stop thinking about it like your farmland. No, that's just not how it works. You are required, right? When you do your documents, you actually know where your GPS is. Okay, you know where the four corners are. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, that's the $600 you're going to pay to locate it. That's a $30 an acre thing you're going to do. That's about what it goes, unless there's just a lot of research involved. When it comes to the markers, that's what you do yourself or can have a family member do. But all you're actually required to do is to go to that point or as close to that point that you can get and stack up a cairn. A cairn, that's a stack of rocks. You're going to take GPS in your hand. You're going to walk to the corner or wherever it is. You're going to make a stack of rocks. Personally, I don't use rocks anymore, right? Personally, I don't use rocks anymore because the animals tend to rub on them or move them or the stone moves them. I'll take a little metal post with me and I have a little sign and I'll just kind of pound it into the ground and it's blaze orange and whatever. And it's very easy to see, but that's up to you. But you do have to do public notice, just like trespassing. This is a claim. That's the one thing you have to do. Doesn't mean you have to do it by person, but it's not a survey. That's not what it is. See, it comes to you pre-surveyed. So you know where it is. It's a very tight description based on how the government maps it. And then based on how the government maps it, right, you're filing the paperwork to do it. Okay? But that you have somebody help you with that. This can all be helped. I'm gonna help you with this. I'm gonna help you with this. But first you got to understand what it is. You got to understand what it isn't. You got to understand how it works. Families will do these together just to get a bunch together and they'll plan a trip once every other year and they'll go hang out in the woods with their tents on their mining claim. Drink coffee, make a campfire, right? Fish in the stream, whatever. It's not as difficult as it is. And that's why I say, it's just because it's not talked about. And the government's certainly not going to teach you. So let's kind of go through this. I told you that an average miner back then found about 150 ounces, right? This is what it would be worth today. Here's where gold has gone, right? Etc. And then here are the states you can do it in. I'm going to read it out again. Alaska, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oregon, South Dakota, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. But it's any mineral. Truly, it's any mineral. Any mineral. People forget that almost the same places that have gold, and you know what gold is an ounce, also have gemstones. Order from Amazon. I don't get what you're saying there. I would hope you wouldn't think you could do that. Yes, Kitty. So Nevada, there's opal, turquoise, garnet, besides gold, silver, and platinum. These are all besides gold, silver, platinum, etc. Oregon has the sunstone. Utah has topaz and the red beryls. I love the red beryls there. Those are red emeralds. Red emeralds. They are the freaking bomb. One of the rarest gemstones in the world. Quartz keeps coming up on the acre I have. Susie Durbin, tell me where that is. I'll see if I get some information on it. Tell me what the quartz looks like. I want to know, is it all white? Is it clear? Or is it cloudy and rusty? Anyway, Montana's sapphires off the chart. I have millions and millions and millions of carats in Montana. I've done a show before. I've shown you some of these. I'll do another show again. California jade, tourmaline, bentonite, jade, Arizona turquoise, and other gems. Jade, placer gem minerals, Alaska sard. These are only a few. These are only a few. Okay, all your crystals are clear. Susan, the reason I tell you is when you see quartz on your land, there are quartz crystals that are clear. That's one thing. Those are all collectible. When you have quartz on your land that's solid white, very milky, like my teeth, white, that's still quartz. When you find quartz and it's got craggly crags in it, and it's got rusty veins running through it that looks like rust and iron, and it's leaking into the quartz, and you think it makes it not pretty, that's what the gold grows in. Anyway, let's look at some of these minerals from gemstones. By the way, if you were looking at, let's just say here, sapphires, this is just sapphires. If you were looking at sapphires and you translated it to ounces, a low-end sapphire cut's going to bring about 500 a carat. Medium one's going to bring 8,000 a carat. High-end's going to bring 18,000 a carat. That's how much gemstones are worth per ounce. Garnet. Most people don't consider garnet a very special gemstones, but it actually is. And if you look at the different types of garnets, and if they're clean enough to cut, you're talking things that can be $1 million an ounce. Where gold is $5,095 an ounce. I'm only telling you this for a very simple thing. It's there. That's it. It's there. But the most important thing is you can have land. See, the laws aren't written that if you're willing to work it, the government has no ability to push back on you. Yeah, green, dematoid garnets, those are the bomb. The government says if you're willing to get out there and look and work, that's what a prudent man rule is. Your idea of looking may be pulling out a lawn chair, sitting on your ass, roasting weenies, looking around. Do I see anything? That's it. That's it. Period. Basically, what happens when you file this, you have the rights to any mineral assets on the land. Now, can you go clear the land and cut down the trees? No, you cannot. Not until you own it, which may be later. But under the terms of the claim, you can't do that at all. So, pop quiz. If you had a choice and you were walking through the mountains or the woods or the desert, I'll just use the desert. It's easier, right? Imagine you're walking through the desert and you're kind of on a little plateau and you see a little canyon that goes down, but it's kind of like an old dry riverbed. And then a little lower, a few hundred feet, is the river. That's a known gold-bearing river. Now, I'm not talking deep. They're usually shallow. Where could you find the most gold? Where could you find the most gold? Where the old stream was. Do you know why? When the earth was in violent pitches and turmoil, and the ground's breaking up, and we're having huge floods long before man, our earth got scraped. And all that water got concentrated and run, but then those riverbeds basically went away. And let's say over the last 2,000 years, the river carved down here, and here's where the river is. It's actually in the dry, ancient riverbeds more than down in the river. Why? Because it got deposited there thousands of years ago. Right? Where are you going to find the gold in the river? You're going to look at the river and you're going to look down it, and you're going to see where the gravel kicks up and the river turns. Why? Because it's bringing the gold with it, gets stuck in the gravel, the water goes this way, the gold buries itself in the gravel. You can throw a gold coin on the ground, 1 ounce gold coin on the ground, and within a year it'll be under the dirt even though you didn't bury it. Do you know that? This is where a glory hole came from. Not the gas station, it's a little hole in the wall. Sea bass. When there was a rocky riverbed, and you move the rocks around, you find that one little hole that goes down in the rock, because all that gold trickling down the river would fall into the glory hole and not go on downriver. Which leads me back to the story at the beginning where I said a friend of mine did basically $1 million over 2 days, $900,000. What he did is on a gold-bearing river, he didn't look for gold. He looked for boulders that had broken away into the stream. Yeah, a lot of pokes. Where does a poke come from? Where does a poke mean this? The little bag of gold dust was called a poke. Like, remember those little pieces of gum, like nuggets, and they came in the little miner's bag? Well, if that was filled with gold, that's what you traded the prostitute for a poke. It was called a poke. Give me your poke and we can do it. That's where how about a poke comes from. Anyway, what he did is he looked around the river and he found a boulder that was kind of standing upright in the river, right? Kind of standing upright, but had some size on it. Geologically, as the water ran down and would hit the back of this boulder, right? If there was gold as it was running, hit the back of the boulder, it stopped the flow of the gold. The gold flow set immediately at the bottom of the boulder, but over time it would slip under the boulder. It would slip under the boulder. And so what he did in his particular design to mine it, he mined it like the movie Jaws. True story. He basically went out to the boulder and wrapped ropes and chains around it. And then in the river flow, because it had really good flow, he started attaching plastic barrels, sealed plastic barrels, right? That's resistance pulling in the water downstream. You know, they're downstream. And he put several of them together. Eventually, it tipped. It just tipped over the boulder because there was enough drag like a bulldozer went, because you can't put a bulldozer in the river. You can't do that. That's a no-no. That'll kill the fishies. And so he just tied barrels and stuff to it and let it drag as they're floating, and it eventually toppled the boulder. in the hole underneath that boulder at a time when gold was $300 an ounce. He picked up $900,000 worth of gold in a weekend. We've gotten soft. We've been conditioned to be soft. We've been conditioned to rely on the system. You can grow your own damn food for pennies, but you don't. But you don't. We have been trained for a very long time to buy from the system instead of being our own system. And it's in that we've become servants and puppets and controllable and can't feed ourselves. And it's everywhere. And we've been taught you can't do it. But it's out there. We've only found, quite possibly, in the U.S., according to geological surveys, maybe 17% of all the gold that's out there. I've walked ancient gullies. I kid you not. If I had it, I'd show you. I just don't have it here. And I've found a chunk of silver ore, riddled with silver, in a rock this big, about the size of a football. You know how I found it? I decided before mining that my cousin and I, Aubrey, who saw with me on Curse of Oak Island, we do this together. We were going to go drink and have pizza the night before. I drank a little too much, got out in the desert, and all of a sudden I'm dehydrated. And I'm telling you, I'm falling fast. It's the worst thing you can do because it all the minerals, when dehydration starts, it's very dangerous. And I knew what was going on. It was my own fault because I drank. I immediately head to shade. As soon as I get into shade, I am covered with bees. Now, they're not stinging me. They're drinking the sweat off of me because there's so little water. But my system's beginning to crash. I knew I was in trouble. And the reason I knew I was in trouble is because I was about to have the most incredible, explosive diarrhea you could ever imagine. It doesn't make you puke. It makes you shit. Well, it makes you puke from your ass, if you know what I mean. My minerals went haywire. I was right outside Phoenix, Arizona. I know I'm in trouble. And it was stupid. I'm better trained than that. So better trained than that. And I was just doing a cursory recon of this little wash gully. Well, I almost couldn't get my belt and my pants off. And I certainly had to lean back forward because I didn't want to fill my pants. And I'm sorry it's gory, but you need to understand. Boom! And I'm talking boom. The worst diarrhea you can imagine. Of course, I'm out with no toilet paper. So I managed to take off because you still always wear a t-shirt even when it's hot. I take the t-shirt out from underneath, get myself cleaned up, put my pants back on. I'm kind of dizzy. I'm in trouble. Turn around and look at this disaster. But in that very short time from pulling my shirt off, cleaning myself up, pulling my pants back up and turn around, it was like somebody had put leather on the wall of the rocks. It had dried so quick. Nice little, brown leathery fruit roll up. You know what I mean? All over the rocks and dried. That's That's how dangerous the desert is. That's how fast it dehydrates. And I turn around, trying to get to Aubrey and let him know I'm in trouble. And I'm stumbling through the sand. And as I stumble through the sand and I kick, I look down and I see the glint. And here's this big ass, rich, freaking nodule of galena. Almost pure silver. Almost pure silver. Just amazing. Now, when it comes out in big chunks like that, not me, that already happened. When the silver comes out in big chunks like that, you see all the galena and silver and ore and all this other stuff. And this thing's like 20 pounds, right? It's this size, but it's 20 pounds. It's like, holy shit. That's how I found it. But I didn't get to chase it down. See, when it's that big, that means where it fell out of the mountain is very close. If I'd had my wits about me, I would have been able to find where that vein is. But I had to have him get me out of there because I would have died within a few hours, right? Right? And so here's this rock. You got lead, you got silver, we got copper mixed in with it. We did all the acid. I mean, it's just freaking loaded with all kinds of shit, right? It's like a freaking smorgasbord. Literally, a freaking smorgasbord, a copy between the gray and the black and the peacocking and all this other stuff, right? It's like, holy shit. And so I know that in this gully and ditch, there's all freaking kinds of minerals, all kinds of minerals. And they're pretty close to the lode state. And because of the different signatures that were kind of mixed in with this stuff, right? No, there was no corn. It just had everything in it. Now, when you can find some of those mixes together, you never know what those mixes are going to be. Right? It could have been one of many things, but those other items were there. You know, that could have been the piece that broke off that just had the biggest part of the galena side of it, or it could have been more copper or whatever. I was in big copper country, but you understand what I'm saying? You never know. And that's getting out and doing it. And so even though I found a brick of minerals, I did not shit this brick. You're right. X doesn't mark the spot. Brown marks the spot. But it's true, right? It's just really interesting how this happens, right? And it's never what you think it is, ever, right? It's never what you think it is. It never looks like it. You know, you have kind of the storybooks and everything, and you train yourself over time what to look for, but you never know. And it's in that opening of your eyes and learning these things, which is pretty fascinating, that you can find this stuff. I'll show you a picture here. Hang on. What this could look like. And you have the national treasure version of what's in your mind of what it looks like. But there's what payday looks like. Now, would you have known that? And this is why it can become so fascinating. So there you go. That particular one's silver and galena, right? I'll show you one just before we leave because I'm doing this. The reason I'm doing this, and yes, you can go find these things first and then you can immediately stake a claim. You just got to know what you're looking at. You could be walking up a mountainside and you'll see this little white line in the mountainside and it's got rusty streaks in it. And if you didn't know what you're looking at, you wouldn't know it. Here, see if I can find a fairly good one. Hold on. So you know what you're looking at. Okay, here's a very good one, so you understand. And most people never see these. You got to think about. Oh, they're good. They're beautiful. Let me see if I can get that into one tab. Hold on. You just kind of have to understand what you're looking at. And this is what you train your eyes to do. Let me show you one more before I part. You've walked around and seen kind of the quartzy rock, and it just kind of has like rusty veins in it, kind of looks brainy-ish. You understand what I'm saying? And it might be laying out all over the ground. But you understand that gold, when it was geologically formed, kind of drips and forms underneath, right? Let me show you this. Check this out. Many people will never take the time to inspect the rock, but there's true gold in the field right there. See that? Look at that. You walk around all the time and see this rusty quartz, just like this. And you probably see a piece like this on the bottom here. And you never think, and I'll just make it where it goes past the screen, and you never think to pick it up. But gold companion is quartz. And you'll see this rusty shit all the time. All the time. You think about it now, I think I've seen that, but you never bothered to dig into it or to flip it. Now, something like this has many, many values. This has gold value. This is a pretty good chunk of gold for something that's only about the size of a mandarin orange, right? But also because of how this gold is structured, almost wiry or whatever, this is also a collector specimen. You can get more than the gold price for it, but this is it. And it's there. It's all over the place. And people just don't know it. That's it. Right? Anyway, the reason I'm telling you this is I'm going to do a series of different programs, right, to help you understand these things. And I will put somebody on to help you through the process if you actually want to do it. You have my email, which is just Jovan Hutton Pulitzer @gmail.com. If you want to understand how to get a claim and whatever, and have somebody really locate one, you drop me an email. I'll do more on it later. Just drop me an email and I'll kind of put you on a list. And then I'll do a separate special program for that. So you're going to send me an email. It's just my full name. You see it on the screen, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer @gmail.com. Right? And drop me an email. Just put gold as the reference line. I'll know what it is. I'll put you over into the folder. I am going to do other shows, but I'll do a special show and I can help you through this process since I've been through it. And yes, some beaches have this all over the places in the beach because it washes out of the mountain and washes down, right? And that quartz will crumble. The gold will fall out. That gold, where it's very sharp, as it continues to come down, will be polished and rolled. And that's how you get smooth nuggets versus that cut stuff. It'll smooth it out like this. That means it's traveled pretty far. And so if you want to begin to push back on the system, if you want to begin at least doing a few things, even if you just want to have a mining claim so you can say you can have it because you, by law, can pass it on to your heirs. It becomes theirs. It's all transferable, but it's easy to do and it's easy to have, right? But if you want to send me an email, I'll put you on the list. I'm going to do another program. I'm going to go into a little more detail of how this works and give you some training. But I can help you with this. And as I look at this, yeah, that quartz crumbles. As I look at this, I just want you to know I am convinced now more than ever, everybody needs to do what they can to get out of the system and off the system. I'm convinced of it. You got to get out of the system. You got to get off the system. And we've got to go back to those things we can do, that where we are responsible for ourselves, we answer to ourselves, and we depend on ourselves. But we've been trained to be apathetic, to put it off, to be lazy, to not do it, or to be that, you can't do that. Oh, nobody. Talk to people around you, right? Talk to people around you. And so you'll identify the names. Oh, you can't. Oh, nobody ever finds it. Those are the people that don't want it, don't want you to do it. Worst case is you're going to end up with some land. You're going to get out maybe and get some exercise. You're going to feel good about it. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to feel proactive. You're going to bring some more meaning to your life. You're going to have something to give your grandbabies. And my family with all the kids, they get to a certain age, boom, they get a whole grant of claims. Here you go. You can just do this. You can just do this if you want. And that's why I said it only depends upon if you want, and you do. It's there, and it 100% depends upon you. If you want, and you do. I'll tell you when part 2 is. I'll put it up, but this was part 1, just to kind of get you brief with it. Remember, drop me a line if you are interested in, maybe getting some land of your own.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughter.
Get land of your own to at least just have some, or pass it to your kids or whatever. It's a mining claim. You're not going to go build your house on it, but it's yours nonetheless. And I can tell you, owning land is a really satisfying thing to do. And in a time when the system takes advantage of us and they don't want us to know of the good things out there, why don't we just take advantage of what the system already has for us? I love you all. Share this program.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Force Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.